Hello, I'm R.A. Spratt, and I want to welcome people joining us this week on the Yoto podcast platform. Now, just so you know, most of the bedtime stories I tell here are standalone stories. But over the last year, we have been dipping in and out of the epic story of Odysseus, the hero from ancient Greek mythology. And this week, I'm going to be telling the second last installment of that tale. So if you can jump in right here, that'll be fine. I'm sure you'll pick it all up. But if you did want to go back to the beginning and start from the first episode, you can search back through the episodes. The first episode's called Odysseus, as told by Nanny Piggins, and it dropped on January 8th, 2025. Or you can go back and listen to any of the other episodes. You're going to find fairy tales, myths, legends, and mysteries. I hope you enjoy them all. Now let's get into it. Hello and welcome to Bedtime Stories with me, R.A. Spratt. Well, it's a strangely cold and bleak day here in Bowral, but we can have fun today with the story. I've got my new puppy with me, Bobby. He's curled up on the floor. I was a bit worried when I got a new puppy that he wouldn't be able to sit through podcast records, but he's doing well so far. I probably shouldn't speak too soon just in case he does start barking. But he looks like he's settled in for a good sleep, so hopefully we'll get through the record all right. What news is there? Oh, I'm going back into the studio soon to record another audiobook. Everything's on track. Romeo v. Juliet is all ready to come out in February. The Christmas shows are coming up. I'm going to start rehearsing them soon. In Tasmania, the ticket sales have been going really well. The stalls have sold out, so they're going to open the balcony. So some more tickets will become available this week. So if you want to come, there will be more tickets available. And the tickets are selling fast in Glen Street for the Sydney show and the Belco in Canberra as well. So if you want to come along, please hop on my website, rasprat.com, and go to the live shows banner. Hopefully, if all those shows go well, when the next Friday Barnes book comes out next year, Friday Barnes 14, I want to say, I'm hoping to do a national tour and go to other cities that I'm not getting to for this Christmas show. So if you're missing out this time, rest assured I'm going to try and get to you in 2026. All right, now let's get into the story. So last week we started on the story of Rama and Diwali, because it was Diwali last week, obviously. We're a bit behind now. This is going to be the second half of the story because it's a long story. It could have made an 8-part story on its own, but I've tried to sort of condense it down to the bare bones. So we're going to finish that up this week. And then coming up next week, I've had someone request because obviously there was that heist at the Louvre on the 20th, and everyone has really been joking about it on the internet. So someone wrote to me and said, can you do talk about the Louvre heist? Because one of the Friday Barnes books is all set at the Louvre and involves a heist. So it's another case of real life imitating my books, which is fun. So I thought next week I'll do a reading from that book. I might not actually do the heist from the Louvre because that's kind of the big dramatic conclusion of that book. I don't want to spoil it for you, but I do have a lot of art heists throughout the later Friday Barnes books. So I'll see if I can do a reading from that book for you next week. And then beyond that, we'll probably get back into more Greek myths. Got to finish off the story of Odysseus before the end of the year. All right, so let's get into today's story. Here we go. Rama and the 10-headed demon, as told by Nanny Piggins. Okay, where did we leave off last time? Asked Nanny Piggins. You were telling us the story of Rama and the origin of Diwali, said Derek. Rama had been banished to live in the forest for 14 years with his wife Sita and his brother Laxmana, added Samantha. Until one day, when a hideous, evil demoness called Shapanaka proposed to Rama and Laxmana, and they both said no, so Shapanaka got really cross and threatened to kill Sita, so Laxmana cut her nose and ears off, added Derek. Which only made her even crosser, added Michael. Oh, yes, said Nanny Piggins. Threatening to kill the wife of the man you've just proposed to is not very nice. But cutting the nose and ears off the person you've just turned down is not very nice either. Shapanaka may have been a hideous, evil demon, but understandably her feelings were hurt. Her face probably hurt too, said Michael. Yes, indeed, agreed Nanny Piggins. So Shepanika rushed home to dob on them. Oh, it's not nice to dob, said Michael. No, snitches do get stitches, agreed Nanny Piggins. In fact, by the end of this story, just about everybody needed stitches because, spoiler alert, there is a really big fight scene coming up. But at this stage, Shepanika rushed back to her homeland, the island of Lanka, to tell her brother what had happened. Now, the key thing you need to know here is that Shepanika's brother was not a normal brother. You mean he wasn't good at ballet? Asked Boris. As the world's greatest ballet dancing bear and Nanny Piggins' brother, he personally thought this was the most important characteristic all brothers should have. No, at least I don't think so, said Nanny Piggins. No one would have noticed if he was good at ballet, because this brother had another more distinctive feature. More distinctive than elite ballet skill, said Boris. Is such a thing even possible? Oh yes, because Shepanika's brother was called Ravana, and he was the king of Lanka. Oh, that's a big deal, said Samantha. He was also a demon, added Nanny Piggins. Oh, that's unfortunate, said Michael. And he had 10 heads, concluded Nanny Piggins. 10 heads, said Derek. OK, that would be eye-catching, conceded Boris. Yes, and as well as the 10 heads, he also had 20 arms, said Nanny Piggins, so he really filled a room. But children, I want you to understand that having 10 heads and 20 arms isn't necessarily a bad thing. We must not be prejudiced against the multi-headed population. I'm sure to have lots of heads and lots of arms could be very good. How? Asked Derek sceptically. Well, having 20 arms would make it much quicker to wash and dry the dishes. And if you had 10 heads, they could sing a song in 10-part harmony. Ooh, that would be lovely, said Boris. Almost as good as being good at ballet. No one would have even noticed all the heads and arms if Ravana had a lovely personality. But I'm afraid he didn't. He was evil and liked fighting and starting wars, because he had been granted a boon. Oh, not another boon, said Michael. Yes, Ravana had been granted a boon that no god or demigod or magical creature could ever hurt him. The only being that could hurt him was a mere human. But the problem was, what human would want to take on a 10-headed evil demon king? I know I often say that humans are silly, mainly because they are, but they're not that silly. So, to get around this, one of the gods had to become a human and do the job themselves, which is how the god Vishnu came to be incarnated as Rama in the first place. Which is why Rama is blue, said Derek. Exactly, said Nanny Piggins. I'm so confused, said Michael. Don't worry, said Nanny Piggins. You don't need to follow the plot. I'll get to the action bit soon enough. Thank you, said Michael. So Shepanika went to her brother and complained about her nose and ears being cut off, and he loved getting in a fight, so he set off straight away to avenge her. Ravana jumped in his flying chariot and flew off to confront Rama and Lakshmana. But when Ravana arrived at their campsite, the first thing he saw was Sita. And you will remember that Sita was the most beautiful woman ever to be beautiful. So, of course, he fell in love, said Samantha. Indeed, said Nanny Piggins. Ravana instantly fell head over heels in love with Sita. And of course she was already married, so he came up with a wicked scheme so he could snatch her. He got his uncle to pretend to be a deer. A deer? Like the animal a deer? That's a bit random, said Derek. Well, his uncle must have made a very convincing deer, said Nanny Piggins, because Rama wanted to hunt it, leaving Lakshmana to watch over Sita. Don't worry, I won't be long. I've got a chocolate cake in the oven and I'll be back before it burns, said Rama. And he set off after the deer, making Lakshmana promise to look after Sita and never ever leave her side. But a short while later, Lakshmana and Sita heard Rama crying out from the forest. Ow! Ow! Owie! I've really hurt my ankle! Lakshmana, my brother, come quickly and help me! Oh no, said Lakshmana. What am I to do? Rama is calling out for help, but Rama also told me not to go anywhere until he comes back. Well, he's obviously changed his mind if he's calling out to you now, said Sita. Ow, owie, said Rama again. My foot is caught in a trap with spikes. Lakshmana, come quickly. I need you to save me. You'd better go, said Sita. But Rama told me to stay with you, said Lakshmana. But now he's telling you to go and help him, said Sita. You've got to do it. His cake's due out of the oven soon, and he needs to get back so he can ice it. Ooh, I do like chocolate cake, reflected Lakshmana. All right then, I'll go and save him. And he hurried off into the forest. Oh no, said Samantha. That wasn't really Rama crying out, was it? No, it was a trick, declared Nanny Piggins. As soon as Lakshmana left, Ravana swooped down and grabbed Sita. Ha ha ha, you're coming with me, declared Ravana. Let me go, said Sita. I'm not going anywhere with you. My husband has a chocolate cake in the oven. Also, I love him and his ability to make chocolate cake. Rama! Rama! Save me! This evil 10-headed demon is trying to take me away from your cake! Oh, and you! Now, it just so happened that Jatayu, the vulture king, heard Sita crying out, and he rushed to help her. Jatayu attacked Ravana as he carried Sita away in his flying chariot. But Jatayu was an aging vulture king, and Ravana soon bested him by slashing off Jatayu's wing, so he tumbled back to earth. Oh, that's horrible, said Michael. Yes, agreed Nanny Piggins. Kidnapping is bad enough, but cruelty to vultures is a step too far. By this stage, Rama and Lakshmana realised they'd been tricked and rushed back to protect Sita. But when they got back to their campsite, Sita was gone and Jatayu lay injured and dying. Jatayu, my dear loyal friend, cried Rama. What happened? Ravana kidnapped Sita and took her off in his flying chariot, said Jatayu. Oh no, said Rama. He could have flown anywhere. We'll never find her. He flew south, said Jatayu. Oh, well, that does make sense, said Lakshmana. He is the king of the island of Lanka, which is in the south. Okay, well, maybe we will find her, said Rama. Let's go. So Rama and Lakshmana set out in search of Sita. Luckily, Sita was very sensible, so she'd thrown her jewellery out of the chariot as they flew away. And Rama was able to follow the trail of jewels through the forest. How much jewellery did she have? Asked Samantha. She'd spent 10 years camping in the forest. Why did she have a lot of jewellery with her? Well, just because you're camping doesn't mean you can't look nice, said Nanny Piggins. She was a Piggins and a princess, and she married a prince, so that made her a double princess. So it was probably obligatory for her to wear lots of jewellery. For princesses, that is the uniform, like police officers wearing caps and road workers wearing high-vis yellow vests. Anyway, as they journeyed through the forest, Rama met the Monkey King. Another king, said Michael. Yes, it seems strange to us, said Nanny Piggins, but if you are royalty yourself, you're much more likely to bump into other royal families. It's a small socio-economic circle. Anyway, Rama and the Monkey King soon became firm friends. They had a lot in common, I'm sure. So the Monkey King promised to help. He raised an army of monkeys and bears. Bears, said Derek. Yes, indeed, bears, said Nanny Piggins. Oh, goody, said Boris. There should be more stories about bears. Yes, agreed Nanny Piggins. I'm not sure why the bears wanted to get involved. That bit isn't explained in the story. But they do specifically say that the army was made up of monkeys and bears. So visualise that as you may. The children closed their eyes and tried to imagine what an army of monkeys and bears would look like, but it was too hard. The only bear they knew was Boris, and Boris would never fight with anybody, let alone join an army. If you ate his honey sandwich, he might get upset, but he was more likely to go to his shed and weep than join a monkey army and go off to war. So Rama, Lakshmana, the Monkey King, and the army of monkeys and bears all travelled to the southernmost point of India to rescue Sita. But here they did encounter a problem. You see, Lanka was an island, and none of them could fly. Also, none of them could swim that far. In hindsight, they probably should have made an army of eagles and left the bears at home. But Rama and the Monkey King were not the type to give up. The Monkey King simply ordered his army to build a causeway. They gathered up all the rocks in the kingdom and threw them into the sea until they built up enough to form a path, and they could walk over to Lanka. Oh, that'd take a lot of rocks, said Derek. Well, they had a lot of monkeys and bears to do the job, said Nanny Piggins. Meanwhile, in Lanka, Ravana had totally fallen in love with Sita and spent every day begging her to marry him. No, I will not marry you, declared Sita. I'm already married to Rama. But if I kill him, you won't be, argued Ravana. You won't be able to kill him, countered Sita. Pah, he's only got one head and only 2 arms, said Ravana. Killing him will be easy peasy. You'll never do it, argued Sita, because my husband has unrivalled wisdom, courage, and strength. Because he's the avatar of the god Vishnu, asked Ravana. Yes, and because he draws unbeatable strength from his cake-based diet, said Sita. When the monkey and bear army finished the causeway, they marched on Lanka, and a terrible war was waged. Now, I know some people like war stories, said Nanny Piggins, but in my opinion, they're all very tedious. They're always the same for the most part. One side's winning, then the other side's winning, then the first side is winning again, and this all goes on for a very long time, with lots of people and monkeys and bears dying, which is very unpleasant, so I'm not going to go into the details. I just hope before the battle they all had a nice honey sandwich, said Boris. Don't worry, dear, Nanny Piggins reassured Boris. The main thing is everyone was very heroic. In real life, you want everyone to survive, but in stories, being heroic is the main thing people worry about. Anyway, after months and months of fighting the war, the two armies were completely worn down. So the battle came down to Rama and Ravana fighting each other in single combat. Then this bit went on for ages too. For 2 whole days, Rama and Ravana fought. There was noogieing, wet-willying and wedgieing galore, because they were so evenly matched. But eventually, Rama remembered that he did have a magical bow, gifted to him by the sage who had trained him years earlier back at the beginning of the story. So Rama pulled out his bow, drew an arrow out of his quiver and fired it straight at Ravana's chest. And remember, Rama was the strongest man alive. His arrow struck Ravana so hard it went straight through his heart and out the other side. Then, because it was a magical arrow, it flew right back to Rama and got back into his quiver, ready to be used again. So Ravana died, and Rama was united with Sita. And they all lived happily ever after? Asked Samantha. Well, yes, but not straight away, said Nanny Piggins. First, they all had to walk home, which was a long way because India is a big country. By the time they got back to their home kingdom, 14 years had passed and the banishment was over. So the people of their kingdom put out lanterns to lead Rama and Sita home and welcome Rama as their new king. And that is the origin of Diwali, the festival of lights, when people in India celebrate the triumph of good over evil, light over dark, knowledge over ignorance, and cake over no cake. The end. Time for bed. All right, well, we'll leave it there. I hope you enjoyed that one. There are way more stories about Rama, so you can check them out yourself, or hopefully maybe in years to come, I will dip back into the stories from Ramayana, Rama's journey. All right, well, that's it for now. I'll be back next week with a Friday Barn story. Okay, until next time, goodbye. Hello, it's me again. If you enjoyed listening to Bedtime Stories with R.A. Spratt, it would be really helpful if you could like, subscribe, follow, and or review the show on whatever podcast platform you're listening to now. Every little one of those digital affirmations helps, and the bigger this podcast gets, the more I can justify procrastinating from my real job to keep bringing these stories to you. Thank you.